Good evening, Missouri fans, or I guess whoever else has managed to find this particular corner of the internet. Gabe D. Armand here, State of the Tigers, your weekly show, keeping you up to date on everything related to Mizzou football, basketball, recruiting. We're brought to you, as we are every week, by our friend James Carlton at State Farm Insurance. You can get a hold of James at carltoninsurance.net. Phone number is 314-961-4800. The Facebook page is facebook.com/Carlton Insurance. Get in touch with James and his staff, and they're going to try to cut you the best deal they can on your insurance rates, even if they don't become your insurance agent, which I feel fairly confident they will. I've talked to a lot of people who have talked to James and his people and taken them up on their rates. But even if that doesn't happen, if you get a quote from them, James is going to make some donations to Mizzou's NIL efforts, which is a win-win-win for everybody. So that done, we're going to start tonight talking basketball. We will get to the big day that really hasn't been very big. Later on, Sean Williams is going to join us. But first of all, we're going to talk to Drew King about the big day that we already know wasn't a big day. That was Sunday in Kansas City at the T-Mobile Center, which I still want to call the Sprint Center, which I probably would get in trouble from if anyone from T-Mobile was watching our show. Drew, you and I kind of agreed that yesterday was one that it felt like Missouri really needed to win. And not only did they not win it, there wasn't really a time where it seemed like they were going to. You know, they jumped out 16-10, and that felt decent. But then over the next, I don't know, I guess it would be about 28 minutes. I mean, they got run off the floor by Seton Hall.
Yeah, they hit another one of those stretches where they just could not find a way to score. And that's been the killer for them in just about every loss this year is they hit a speed bump, can't figure out how to stop a mistake from avalanching. And so yeah, like we talked about how these past two games and the game coming up, like this was going to be the easiest one out of the three to win, and you really needed to win one of these three. So like the margin of error for this team has gone down significantly with this loss,
Yeah.
I think.
I think at this point they have to beat Illinois if you want to have any conversation about the NCAA tournament. But I'll be honest here, I don't think that's a reasonable conversation to have as we sit here right now. Like they could go beat Illinois, but this team has not shown me that over the course of 30 games, they're good enough or consistent enough where we should sit here talking about the NCAA tournament. Maybe there's a point in the year where we get there, but I don't think we're there right now.
Right. And the thing is, like the guys who played well yesterday, it's not like they've been playing well every game this season, right? So you can point to them and say, like, oh, why haven't they been playing more? Well, it's because they usually don't play like that, right? And the guys who weren't playing well, like those are guys that Mizzou's been counting on for a long time, and they like just didn't have it yesterday. And so it came at like one of the worst times for them. And you know, the thing about this team is like their ceiling is still like high. Like when they're at their best, they're going toe to toe with Kansas. They look like a completely better team than Seton Hall, but they don't play like that for long enough stretches, right? They go cold, and they kind of shell up a little bit. And so I think that's kind of been the Achilles heel this year.
So you talked about the long scoring ground, and look, that's just part of what this team is at this point. Like they're going to go 5 minutes at some point and not score. I'm used to it. To me, you can disagree with me if you want. By far, the more concerning thing was the defense yesterday. I mean, it was like there were times that Seton Hall guys looked like they didn't want to shoot a three, but then they were just so open they decided, well, I don't have a choice. I have to shoot it, and they made it because they're Division I college basketball players who are completely unguarded from 21 feet.
Right. I think it was definitely like some daring on Mizzou's part, like wanting Seton Hall to take those threes. But I think the issue was like so many of them were
Once they're 9 of 16, that's a problem.
Yes, right. Like you let them get into a rhythm. You left them wide open. like there wasn't anybody within like 8 feet of some of these shooters at some times, right? Um, so yeah, like they stuck with the 1-3-1 defense for a long time, and part of the strategy was that is you want to take away the middle and you want to get your hand in the passing lanes and force a lot of turnovers, and those weren't happening early on, at least. And so what happened instead is like Seton Hall was able to make that extra pass to a wide open shooter either on the wing or in the corner, and they hit their shots. Like, credit to Seton Hall, they weren't a good shooting team coming into this. So I get the idea behind it, but I think the adjustment needed to come a lot quicker for Mizzou.
Well, the concern to me is, hey, if Seton Hall just goes out and shoots 60% from three and beats you, hey, the sun shines on a
Mhm.
dog now and again. But while they were not stopping that, at least they also managed to not stop anything inside. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't like by allowing Seton Hall to shoot so many threes, they were playing this dominant paint
Right.
defense. And to me, it's real simple. I watch this team, and their guards can't keep anybody out of the paint. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Nick Honor. I don't care if it's Sean East. I don't care if it's Ant Robinson. The opposing guards are in the paint all day long.
Yeah, I agree with that. And part of that is probably like aggressively going for steals. And
Well, Demoy
with
Hodge ain't walking through that door.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think like maybe the thought was with Aiden Shaw and Connor Vanover, who are doing a decent job of protecting the rim, like you could be a little bit more aggressive like that, right? And play a little bit out of position going for steals. But it just was not working yesterday, Gabe. Like they haven't given up 93 to anyone but Arkansas Pine Bluff,
Kansas.
right? And well, no, they didn't give up 93 to Kansas. Well, they did
They gave
last
up
year.
95 to Kansas last year. Yeah.
But this season, like we've seen them step up a little bit more defensively, and that
Mm-hmm.
was far and away their worst game of the year.
Before we go on, I should have started with this. Skip Ryan just
Yes.
wants to know about the NASA Christmas sweater. Is there a story here?
No, I just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. We were going to talk about a couple of rough games from Mizzou. I was feeling a little festive, Gabe. I
All
was
right.
disappointed because the sweater used to light up. I thought that would, I forgot to put these on. I got some red and green Mardi Gras beads that I can toss on here.
Okay.
If that,
Okay.
yeah, that help. Yeah,
This is a festive show. I'm,
it's a
I'm
party
glad you're
now.
lightening the mood because I'm just
Yeah.
exhausted and sick. So. All right. So let's we'll get to all your comments and questions basketball wise here in a minute. We'll have Sean Williams about 15 minutes, and we'll turn our attention to recruiting. But before we get to those, and please comment, questions, whatever, put them in the queue. We'll get to them. I promise. So I think Drew, I think the comeback against Minnesota and the last, I don't know, was it 8, 9 minutes against Kansas? I think I allowed that to fool me a little bit. The Minnesota game, deserve credit, came all the way back and won. Credit to you. Obviously, it takes two to tango there, and Minnesota did plenty to allow Missouri back. But the KU game, I think I talked myself into it being encouraging. The story of that game wasn't that they came back from down 18 and had a chance
Mhm.
to make it 5. The story was that they were up 9 and ended up down 18. I mean, they've had stretches in every game, doubled up by Memphis in the half, down 18 to KU, outscored in the half by South Carolina State. Like, these are not 4-minute stretches. Dennis keeps talking about, I really like the first 10 minutes. I like the last 4 minutes. Those are fractions of basketball games. For the majority of basketball games, they frankly haven't been very good in any game outside of Pitt and Wichita this year.
Yeah, I
And
think I
Houston, whatever they played in the opener. Like, I don't count that. That doesn't count.
right. Yeah. No, I think I agree with that. I mean, again, the last what was it, 10 minutes of this past game against Seton Hall, like they looked like that team again, where like Seton Hall doesn't really have an answer for them. And it was like a whole
But
different
how much of
change.
that is because Seton Hall was up 19 points and Seton Hall is
No, Gabe, I'm
they're
telling you,
not
like
taking it that seriously.
No, I think it was a change in demeanor from Mizzou, right? They started playing with urgency. I was
Right.
looking at Sean East's game yesterday, right? He had 2 shots in the first 10 minutes of the game, okay? Ended the first half with 4 points, right? Did not take a shot the first 10 minutes of the second half. And then takes 7 in the last 10 minutes, right? And gets to the free throw line
And
and
made about
makes
6 of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and like I think ended up with double digit points. How many did he have? 16, right? Like, so if you looked at the box score, like Sean had a decent day, but it wasn't until they had to play desperate, right? And they had to claw their way back into it. So, like, Tamar
So
Bates had a quote,
why does it take that long? Why can't they do
right?
that in a tie game as opposed to down 18?
Well, Dennis Gates would tell you they're playing too perfect, right? Um, uh,
Trying to play too perfect. Because
trying to play
nobody's going to accuse them of playing perfect.
right. I don't have a great answer for you, Gabe.
Yeah.
But I thought Tamar had a good quote yesterday saying, like, we have to start every game like we're already down 20 because when they do play with that kind of urgency, like I said, like they can hang with some of these really good teams, but every game there's a stretch where like they just shell up and they're not as aggressive. And I think that's what gets them every time is they can't be consistent through a whole game.
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of the football team that looks like garbage for the first 27 minutes of the game. They're down 21 nothing, and all of a sudden they get the ball back with 3 minutes left before half and go, well, we got to go no huddle and we got to throw the ball every down because that's our only chance. And all of a sudden they go down the field in a minute and a half and score, and you go, well, why don't you just go no huddle all the time? Like Missouri basketball, maybe they should just go no huddle all the time
Yeah.
because that's the only time they've looked good is when they are just furiously trying to come back against a team that frankly has run them out of the gym most of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but it is a little bit like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like they don't start playing until the fourth quarter when they might be down by 3 or 7 points, right?
So I made that same comparison yesterday in a different manner. I watch every week. I watch Chiefs every week. And about week 9 this year, I finally started telling my friends, guys, I can't get mad about it. They're just not that good this year. They
Hmm.
just don't have it. There's something missing. This is the team they are. It's time to accept it. So before we get to questions, is this who Missouri basketball is? Do we just need to say, look, this is who they are. They don't have the guys. We need to quit thinking this team can do what last year's team did. Are we there yet? Are we at that point?
We're about there, yeah. Like I said before, like the margin of error is 0 now, right? So like you have to come up with this win against Illinois, and you have to have a pretty good SEC regular season schedule, right?
Mhm.
You have to finish top half in the SEC period, along with that Illinois win to get to the NCAA tournament. And I don't necessarily trust this team to get there right now. And maybe I'm
Right.
wrong, right? They have to play the games still. And
Right.
Tamar Bates and Trent Pierce looked pretty good yesterday. Maybe they can play that way the rest of the year. Maybe Caleb Grill comes back and just goes supernova, but it's tough to see it right now.
Yeah. So we're going to run through some of these questions. Mike says, do you think Bates finally gets the consistent playing time he deserves? Tamar Bates has the best offensive rating on the team. I, look, I get he disappears sometimes. I get he's not perfect. To me, he plays and plays a lot if I'm coaching this team going forward.
I would agree with that. And you kind of expected that kind of game from Tamar playing in front of a home crowd. You knew he was going to step up a little bit with the emotions of that game. You need him to play like that all the time because it was also defensively, Gabe. Like before Tamar got into foul trouble, Kadari Richmond was not a factor for Seton Hall, right? And it wasn't until Tamar came out of the game that Kadari really got going, and that's Seton Hall's best player. So that's definitely what you want to see from Tamar, and for him to play those big minutes.
Yeah. Tyler, do we cut down the rotation at any point? We played 13 guys yesterday, and that's been consistent. You know why they played 13 guys yesterday? Because Caleb Grill was hurt and he couldn't play 14. That's why. Like I hate to harp on this one situation, but the PowerMizzou cameo in the first half is the one that I think people are going. I I'm not sure what I I don't get it. I don't know how else to put it. I don't get
I also do not get it. I do
it.
think that Mizzou
So
will
we've
probably
established that.
yeah, I feel like there's other players on the team that Mizzou should play for those stretches that would be more
Yeah.
effective.
And look, here's the bottom line. Like you said, I felt like yesterday Dennis was just searching for anything. I mean, he played John Tonje for the first time in like 8 games. He
Mhm.
played Jesus Carolero Martin for the first time in like 6 games, and that actually went pretty well. He finally, I think, out of complete desperation with 6 minutes left, says nobody else is doing anything. Aiden Shaw go back in and Trent Pierce go in the game. And that worked. And so it's easy to say, well, we should do that more. But like Aiden was bad for the first 25 minutes yesterday. And
Mhm.
Trent has been outside of the Minnesota game pretty bad most of the year. So I don't think it's that he's playing too many guys. I think he's playing so many guys because we're 11 games in and he still hasn't found 5 to 8 guys he likes the way they play consistently.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like he's going to keep playing Nick, Sean, and Noah every single game,
Right.
right?
It's
Um,
never going to change. Yeah.
Never. But yeah, like outside of this whole team was built on the idea of we have a lot of depth, we have a lot of options, right? And not all of them have panned out.
Right. And also, how much different is there between like okay, you have a lot of options, but if you have 9 guys who are all kind of the same, it's like having
Mhm.
2 quarterbacks. You don't have one. You know,
Yeah,
if you have 10 guys that are the same, you don't have a starting five.
yeah, yeah.
So let's see where else we're going. Why does it feel like Mizzou plays to its competition? I'll disagree, Sam. Or Sam. I think the problem is I don't feel like they played to their. I mean, yeah, they lost by 8 points to Kansas, but that was an 18-point game with 10 minutes to go. Missouri never had the ball in a 2 possession game. They lost to Seton Hall by what, 6? They never had the ball in a 1 possession game. Every time they got close, either they failed to make a play offensively or they failed to get a stop defensively. So I don't know that they do play to the level of their competition. I mean, I think in they play to a level slightly below their competition, I think is what they've done so far this year.
Like it harkens back to the Jackson State game too, right? Like Jackson State should not have ever been in that game. Thank you, Gerard, for the comment. Um, the SC State game, right? Weren't they down 16 there and had to make this crazy comeback?
Yeah.
So, like,
Even the Loyola game, they were up 31-9 and it was almost tied at halftime.
right.
Like in every game.
The Pitt game, they were up 11 and Pitt cut it to 2 in the last couple
Yeah.
of minutes. Yeah, I agree with your point. Like, they're playing not even to the level of competition. They're letting teams hang around,
Yeah.
and that usually has not panned out well for them.
Right. They're letting bad teams hang around and they're letting good teams run away from them. But,
Yep.
you know, uh, I, Sean's in the green room. We'll bring him in a couple minutes, but I want to finish out a couple of basketball questions. Ted, he brings up a point. Carter needs to sit, play Pierce. Look, Noah Carter hasn't been good the last 2 games. Noah Carter would tell you he hasn't been good the last 2 games. But you said Noah Carter's going to play. Nick
Mhm.
Honnor's going to play. So as much as you want to sit here and say those guys need to sit and young guys need to play, it's not going to happen, guys. A coach isn't giving up on the season in game 12, and he's not going to yank his veteran guys. So the answer to me is not sitting Noah Carter and Nick Honor. It's that they have to be absolutely better than they've been. Like Missouri needs more out of them than they've got.
Right, and the thing with Noah is, like, he's not taking horrible shots. Like, a lot of these are wide open for him too, and they're not going down. He was 1 for 6 yesterday. He had a shot on the left wing, um, with nobody in front of him that would have cut the score to 5 with about a minute left in the game. Like he has to hit those, and he was earlier in the year, but like I wrote earlier this morning, the past 3 games, I think he's 5 for 29 from the field.
Mm-hmm.
That can't really happen. So you're right. Like Noah's going to keep playing those minutes. The goal has to be to get him right and to get him back into rhythm.
And it's really weird to me with Nick Honor. Nick Honor's shooting 44% from 3-point range. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
doing that really well. The difference is he's got fewer assists and he's turning it over more. Because and Drew, we talked about this after the KU game. Their offense increasingly is Nick Honor and Sean East dribbling around till there's like 8 on the shot clock. Like I don't see the ball movement or the off ball movement.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It gets really stagnant, and they kind of play hot potato around the 3-point line until there's nowhere else to go. And so the last 10 seconds, like you said, like it's Nick or Sean taking one last ball screen, getting into the lane, and then like having 3 or 4 guys around them with nowhere else to go. So, yeah, that's something that needs to improve on. Nick's, like you said, has shot the 3-point ball really well, but he's having to play on the ball a lot more, right? He can't have a swing pass to Demoy Hodge or let feed it into Kobe inside and then spot back up. So his role has changed a little bit this year, and it's been a struggle for him to adjust.
Well, here's a good point. We'll just finish with this. T. Rice says, "I wonder if other teams will allow us to spot them 10 to start the game." Like what do you think? What do you think? Uh, Brad Underwood would do if Dennis Gates just told him before the game, "All right, you guys up 10-0. Let's go tip it off." I
He
feel
would
like
say
they take it.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, we said it Sunday. It felt like a must-win game because it's just that one felt so much more gettable. And look, I've made this comment on 8 different shows today, so I'll just make it today. The saving grace for Missouri is that apparently every team they play is an NCAA tournament team, except poor Minnesota, who just got absolutely thrown under the bus by last night. Like, KU tournament team, Pitt tournament team, Seton Hall tournament team, Jackson State tournament team, Minnesota. Not sure where they'll end up. Tough day for the Gophers, man.
Poor Gophers. That was
Yeah.
um just looking ahead to Illinois game, because we talked about how like Seton Hall kind of needed to be the one. Like Illinois
Okay.
looks really good this year, and I
They,
know
they do.
you've said in the
Weird
past,
things
like,
happen in that game.
yeah. Can you expound on that? Like, what are some of the weirder things that you've seen happen in the Bracken Rights game?
I mean, in 93, 94, Missouri went in. They lost by 52 to Arkansas. They should have lost to Mercer. They should have lost to some in-state team. I mean, they were playing awful. Um, they were down 9 with a minute left, tied the game, won it in triple overtime with a bunch of freshmen on the floor, and didn't lose again until the Big Eight tournament. Um, uh, some of the Quinn Snyder's teams that were actually good, like Illinois, ran them out of the building. Frankly, last year, I know Missouri ended up being good, but nobody had Missouri favored going into that game.
Mhm.
And it was one of the best halves of Missouri basketball I've ever seen. So this game has turned seasons around before, and I feel like it has to on Friday night. That has to be not only a win, but a win that like galvanizes this team.
Yeah. And thinking about back to last year, I think that Mizzou was able to catch Illinois off guard a little bit, right? Because they're coming off the Kansas game, and then they have a buzzer beater win at UCF. And so I don't know that Illinois was prepared for the high level that Mizzou was going to play at. I think Brad Underwood's going to be very prepared for what Dennis Gates brings
Yeah.
this year, right? So you're not going to have the element of surprise on your side. And Illinois has been like a monster team this year. Terrence Shannon has taken it up another level. So it's going to be a really tough competition for Mizzou, but it's also probably one that you have to keep your season up.
Yeah, well, we thank Drew for his time and his wardrobe tonight. Sean Williams does not have a Christmas sweater on, to my knowledge. I don't know. Maybe he will prove me wrong. We will bring him on the screen. No Christmas sweater. So, Drew, we're going to go on and do a normally dressed show without you for the rest of the time, unless you
Okay.
just want to hang out and listen to everybody ask why nobody is committed lately.
I'll look around and ask for questions about why nobody's committed to the Christmas sweater podcast. But other than that, I'll probably head out for this one.
Didn't get the memo.
I got it. I chose not to. So, all right, Drew. Appreciate it, man. Drew King out for the evening. Sean Williams now a little bit bigger on your screen. So, Sean, why is nobody committed in like 9 hours? Or
I don't know, man. There's a mob of Missouri fans outside my door knocking right now, like a bunch of vampires, zombies, thirsting for blood, wanting some commitments.
Yeah.
Hey, man, look, we kind of said, hey, news will be coming. And then there's some Missouri staffers that are throwing some stuff on Twitter that's really getting the juices flowing, but nothing's happening. So what can we do?
Right. I mean, hey, guys, I don't know. I guess if I'm told news is coming tomorrow, I'm not going to say news is coming tomorrow until news comes tomorrow. Because this is a couple days in a row. We were under the impression news was coming today, and it hasn't happened. I mean, look, hey, that's what's happened. We're going to move on from that because they're going to get portal commitments. We feel pretty good about some of them, but obviously they haven't happened, and we can't wake up every day and tell you guys, hey, today's the day. I don't know. They're going to happen when they happen.
The night is still young. It's only 7:30, so.
Right. There's 4.5 hours left in the day, but it feels unlikely to me at this point. Tonight, all right. So, but Caleb Pyfrom does commit to Missouri, which feels like something we've expected for 2 months now?
Yeah, good. Well, you could probably say a good almost 5 months since he visited in October for the LSU game, but he kind of drawn it out. I think I heard he did take a visit to Nebraska, a game day visit to Nebraska, but obviously at that time I think they were kind of waiting for Grant Brix to be that was their top O-line target, and they ended up getting him, so they passed on him. So Pyfrom returned for he was in town for the LSU game, returned for the Tennessee game, came back for the official visit. It's kind of a foregone conclusion when he sets the official visit at that point that he's coming to Missouri. So, yeah, we've known about this one for quite a while. He just decided to kind of make it official today. So,
right, and obviously, guys, hey, we've switched over here on State of the Tigers to football recruiting talk again. Comments, questions, everything. Put them in the deal. We'll get there. Okay, so tomorrow morning. Again, this is news we know is happening tomorrow. Courtney Crutchfield is making a commitment at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning somewhere. There's nobody in this other than Missouri and Arkansas, right? I mean, I know he has Auburn on his graphic.
Auburn
there might have been another team.
LSU.
LSU. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is Missouri or Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I mean, since he backed off his Arkansas commitment, I don't know if he's been back to Arkansas since then. He's been to Missouri. I asked him if he's been anywhere else last night. When I talked to him, he said no. So he's either going to have a change of heart, go back to Arkansas and be in Arkansas's class, or he's going to be in Missouri. And I assume that coming off the official visit, everything sounded pretty good. We assume that's probably going to be Missouri right now.
Yeah. Okay. So look, let's just address this briefly because it's in the comments like 4 times. Somebody from On3 has, predicted that Caden Green will end up at Missouri. I feel like you guys have, probably should have gotten that impression from our message board today. Again, I kind of thought it would happen by now. It has not. I expect it to happen. I think it's going to happen. I don't know when, but we might as well just, because that's the question. I thought it was going to happen since he entered since the day he said he was entering the transfer portal. I have thought this made far more sense than Oregon for Caden Green. I expect at some point that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you said that. I mean, that was kind of the expectation once Hughes came out. He was planning to enter the portal, and then obviously when he officially did, all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to go visit Oregon. I'm going to go visit Missouri. He already had the plans laid out. So, and obviously Missouri got him on campus on Sunday, and we'll see what happens. But everything seems to be trending in the direction for Missouri to get him. Which they heavily pushed for him when he was in high school. They just did not get him, and maybe we'll have a homecoming of sorts. I mean, obviously, Williams and Marty's in the class, and Armand Minball is already on the roster, so he'll get to reunite with some former high school teammates. So
Right. And look, that would be. I mean, we said since the day he went in, he becomes target number one in the
right,
portal.
right.
You've got your left tackle. Now look, I don't know. Could he play left guard? That's where he was this year. Yes, I think. To me, it makes sense to play him at left tackle, where Javon Foster is leaving. That's what I would do. But nobody has asked me. I do not coach Missouri's offensive line, so
It's kind
I
of
don't know if they asked you where you would play him.
no. No, but I think that would make the most sense. I mean, and maybe in Green's case, that's a huge selling point for him to be able to play a left tackle position, and know he could come in and be a starter right away next year.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so look, again, do I know when an announcement happens? Obviously not, guys. I'm not gonna. I don't know. It'll happen when it happens. Hopefully that's relatively soon. Could it be tonight? I don't know. Random kids. Sometimes kids announce things at 11 o'clock. Sometimes they don't. We'll see.
I can
Might just
see.
stay up all night.
I can see.
Too.
I can see Caden doing that. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. So, but that would obviously be a big one. Crutchfield tomorrow. Then the only other kid, there's two really. Jaden Sensabaugh, or Jaron Sensabaugh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Missouri or Tennessee. What do we think here?
Yeah, like I said in the weekend recap this morning, which is no different than what I've kind of said going into it. I know he came for a game day visit to Missouri, and he came back for the official, but he's also been to Tennessee for like 2 game day visits and an official there. He also took officials to NC State, UCLA, but obviously, look, he just moved to Nashville this year. Played at Innsworth there, but before that, he grew up in Knoxville. He's got a bunch of family in Knoxville. Pretty sure he grew up a Tennessee fan. I think the allure of playing for Tennessee and playing for like the hometown team is probably going to win out there. We haven't heard anything otherwise, really, but that's just my prediction. He's a hard kid to get a hold of on my end in terms of just getting any kind of response from him. But it almost sounded like after he took his official to Tennessee last weekend, he was just going to almost kind of sounded like a courtesy visit to Missouri, but he was going to come at least hear him out anyway and get all his visits out of the way and make sure he's making a right decision. But yeah, I think he'll end up staying and play for the hometown Tennessee.
So we've got 2 questions here that are related, and I'm going to just put them on the screen back to back. Aiden is asking, is Mizzou done with transfer running backs? And then Mike is asking, would they still take the former Auburn running back recruit? That is Jamarian Burnett.
Yeah.
I don't think they're done with transfer running backs. I think they'd like another one, which makes the Burnett thing interesting. Sean, do you have much insight? Because it just seems like a kid like that should have more options than it seems like he has right now.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation. Everything I kind of read up is, I guess, Auburn ended up dropping him. And I guess maybe it was for lack of production. Maybe they had a better option that was higher on their board. But he missed some games this season. I think he only ended up playing in 7 games. I think he had like an ankle injury or something like that. But in the 7 games he played, he still put up pretty good numbers. So, but I guess at the time, maybe Auburn just decided, hey, this other guy they took, I don't even know who it is, but maybe they had better options that are higher on their board or whatever. But yeah, I'm also kind of shocked that no other teams have really kind of come after him because, like I said, he was pretty productive in the games he did play. So yeah, it is kind of head scratching, and yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this, and me and you kind of talked about it in terms of running back. They got K'Wan Lacey, and K'Wan Lacey commits the weekend after Burnett comes in for an official visit, which Lacey was in November for an official visit. So now you got a high school kid. Now Missouri's got Marcus Carroll, the Georgia State running back transfer. It almost seems like
You got a
Missouri's
sophomore and a redshirt freshman on the roster.
yeah, but it almost seems like Missouri's going to kind of sit back, maybe reshuffle the deck, and see maybe if they can get another quality transfer option, or and if they can't do that, maybe they take a guy like Burnett if he's still around in February. It kind of seems like
I don't think we're saying that they won't take him, but I'm no longer as sure that they will sign him on Wednesday as it used to be.
Well, and it seems
I don't know. It's just a weird deal.
Well, and I think things, they brought in Lacey in November, and it seemed like maybe he was the top option for Missouri because
they didn't think they were going to get him.
They didn't think they were going to get him. They brought Burnett in, and then all of a sudden, Lacey's like, "Hey, I'm going to come to Missouri," and they're like, "All right, we'll take you, buddy." So, and I think Burnett, he kind of sent out that cryptic tweet where he's like, "Hey, I'm still open. My recruitment's still open." So, obviously, maybe he's looking at, hoping other schools maybe pop in there, and he has more options. And he's probably, I would assume, I'm just assuming here, I would think he would probably wait it out and maybe sign in February, but we'll see what happens there. But I don't really know if he has any other options or if.
Right. It depends on what else he might be able to do. Right. Who knows? And again, and this is going to apply to the next question we put up too. What you got to remember is, like, the portal's been open for 2 weeks? We got another 2 to go.
Right.
They're going to be. I saw a kid from UCLA enter the portal today. They just played their bowl game Saturday.
Yeah.
There are going to be more portal entries as kids finish their season. And then there are going to be even more in the spring. So you can't take, if you need 12 transfers, you can't take 12 this week.
Right.
Because then you're going to end up with buyer's remorse when you're like, oh, man, I wish we would have held a spot for that kid. And you just can't do it.
Yeah, the thing with the portal game is kind of interesting. I'm sure they have like a set of priority positions that they want to definitely get guys in. And then I'm sure, like, hey, maybe we can take a second guy at this position. But, like I said, you got to keep your options open. Like I said, there's bowl games going on right now. So you got kids that will, jump in the portal after the bowl games are over. And, you got kids that will jump in during springtime, too, when they kind of know that, the depth chart maybe isn't looking so good, or, maybe they don't like maybe they don't like their new position coach or whatever. So
right.
There's always different scenarios of why kids jump in the portal. It's not all about money, but most of the time it is.
Right. A lot of it's about money. Just not is about money, certainly. So like I said, that kind of relates to the next question. You worried at all about the 2 interior defensive line misses today? Look, they brought them both in on visits and didn't get them, right? So worried? No. They'll find guys.
Right.
Aeneas Peebles or the Houston kid. I'm glad I can just call him the Houston kid and not is the difference between making a playoff and not making one? Not really. But they brought him in on visits. They clearly wanted him and didn't get him. So, yeah, it's a miss. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to worry. You don't have to panic, but it's a miss. There's no question about it. You don't bring guys on official visits that you don't want to take.
Right. And they also got like Chris McClellan, the Florida DN, still kind of, out there, whether he, where he ends up going. I think he went to Colorado over the weekend. He was at Missouri at the end of the week, I think. So he's an option too that could pop. So yeah, that's transfer portal recruiting, man. It's a whirlwind to cover because things happen so quickly. And, a lot of these guys are trying to, kind of make their decisions before, during this early signing period so they can be mid-year enrollees too.
And let's be honest, so many of these they're not recruitments, they're negotiations. That's what they are. I don't know why we wouldn't call them that, right?
Right. Right.
It's okay, well, cool, you can get me 200. Well, guy over there said 225. Oh, now you're saying 250? Well, let me go back to him and see. It happens, guys. It's not even illegal anymore. It happens.
Yeah, it's free agency.
So, yeah, David is asking about Chris McClellan, and look, he was here this weekend. At one point today, I would have told you I felt really good. Now, I don't know for sure. It's Missouri or Oklahoma or Colorado. I don't know. Like you just don't know anything about these kids until they actually announce it, right?
Yeah, and because
And frankly, even sometimes they announce it and it doesn't matter. I saw a kid flip from
oh
Colorado to Oregon today. He said he was going to Colorado, and he just said, "Nah, I'm going to
yeah,
Oregon."
there's been
Kids
like
don't have to sign anything.
yeah, there's been like like some kid committed to Minnesota, then flipped to Louisville a week later. So I mean,
Right.
those things happen all the time. Yeah, it's it happens a lot less in transfer portal recruiting than it does high school recruiting, but it does happen. I mean, it just really depends on the scenario. Like I said, free agency, maybe the money just went up here at this place, so I'm going to take
Right.
it.
And that's the thing. Like all actually announcing a commitment does is tell everybody in the country, well, I found a price I wanted. I mean,
It's a bargaining
maybe
chip.
if you found a better price, maybe I don't necessarily have to go to that place for that price.
Yeah,
That's
bargaining chip.
and again, go ahead.
No, it's a bargaining chip. You're not signing anything until signing day. So it's like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and commit here. And then if people reach out, be like, hey, this is how much they're paying me. But how much can you offer? And if you offer more, then yeah, I'll take a look.
Right. And again, not every kid goes to the highest bidder, right? Like there are kids that say, hey, if like out of high school, we pretty confidently reported that Oklahoma was not the highest bidder for Caden Green. He went there. I mean, he didn't go for free, but he didn't go for the highest price. He went for other reasons. I can say relatively confidently now that Missouri is not the highest bidder in all likelihood for Caden Green, but I think they'll probably get it. So other things do matter,
right?
But it's kind of like if one place is offering $100,000 and the other place is offering 80, maybe it's a conversation. If one place is offering 100 and the other one's offering 20, it ain't much of a conversation.
Right. But if you're offering, if one place is offering 100, other place is offering 80 and a guaranteed starting spot at left tackle.
Right. Or or two of your high school buddies are there, or it's an hour and a half from home, or
but yeah, I mean
whatever.
That's kind of almost like the two reasons. I mean, really the two biggest ones. You got money and you got depth chart. Where you kind of can you come in and start right away? Where are you going to be at on the depth chart? And then, there's the money aspect. Those kind of flip flop in terms of top priority, it seems to me, with transfer portal recruiting. So,
John, you're destroying the myth of the family atmosphere here. I got to be honest with you. So, anyhow, all right. So, Crutchfield tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Crutchfield tomorrow morning. We're still obviously Trajan Greco is another guy that he is not going to announce to January.
We're not going to know about it.
Yeah,
we feel pretty good about it, but we're not going to know about it.
Yeah, this is going to be a situation. He's going to wait and announce on January 6th when he's at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. He's participating in that. He will probably make a live announcement then, like most prospects do when they're still, quote-unquote, uncommitted. But we feel pretty confident it's going to be a scenario where he probably signs with Missouri on Wednesday. We're just not going to know about it until January 6th.
Right. And that has, like, I know kids that's happened with.
Yeah. I mean, that usually happens.
December, and for some reason they want to have a ceremony or an announcement later, and so the school just doesn't announce they sign.
Yeah. Yep. So that's really the only other one we're kind of waiting on. So, I mean, you look at Missouri's class right now, they're at 18 commitments. So, we said they're probably going to go with about 20 or, maybe 21. Maybe they go over that. So,
right. And we will be watching what happens with Jamarian Burnett. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with him, but it'll be.
He's kind of the wild card.
It'll be interesting to see if he signs with Missouri, with somebody else, or nowhere on Wednesday. Honestly.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, like I said, he's kind of the wild card. So if he doesn't sign anywhere on Wednesday, then, kind of got the feeling that he's still an option for Missouri down the road, just kind of depending on maybe what they find in the portal, so.
And so Sean will have kind of a rundown tomorrow of like the guys they're looking at, what we expect, all that. That'll be on the site tomorrow morning. On Wednesday, Sean and Gerard are kind of going to be handling this stuff on the site, and then Gerard's going to be talking to Eli Drinkwitz in the afternoon. I'm actually going to go up to Lee Summit North High School on Wednesday because Williams Winery is having his ceremony at 9:50. I'd like to talk to him, and I think there's a chance that somebody else might be hanging around the ceremony that hopefully by that point I have a reason to talk to. So we will see how that goes.
Hey, that would be swell, man. That's why people pay the big bucks here at PowerMizzou.com.
That yell at me, man. So we're good.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything else to add?
no, I think that's really about it. Like I said, once once the signing period, this early signing period's over, there's not going to be a lot of storylines when it comes to high school kids. We'll have Greco. He'll announce his, he'll publicly announce his decision on the 6th, and then the wild card's kind of Jamarion Burnett, and then I don't know, maybe they'll find somebody else, but probably not. We'll see. I mean, there's always a possibility, but yeah, it's going to be rather quiet. The high school recruiting part of this is probably going to end permanently on Wednesday. So
Permanently for this year, they will continue to recruit.
Yes, yeah. We'll just flip the script and go straight to 2025 focus, pretty much. So
there you go. All right, Sean, appreciate it, man. We'll let you run.
Yep. See ya.
All right, that is Sean Williams. He's our recruiting editor, filling you guys in on everything leading up to National Signing Day, which now is a little less than 36 hours away. So, look, guys, appreciate you all joining us. We're doing the best we can to kind of keep you updated with everything. Again, I know today was a build-up, and then thus far, nothing. I don't know. There's 4 hours. Is something else going to happen? I don't know. I'm certainly not going to put a timeline on it at this point. I've had enough of doing that and looking like I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I promise you I'm not just making it up. So we'll see. But soon, I feel like soon, things will happen, and we'll just leave it there, because your definition of soon and my definition of soon might not be the same. So we'll see how it goes. But want to one more time tell you, carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. You can get in touch with my friend James Carlton. He is Drew King's insurance agent, actually. He's the insurance agent of a number of people on our site, because a number of people heard about him here, got in touch with him, and really liked what they heard. So I want you to do that. Get in touch with James, get some insurance information. He'll hook you up with the best rates. If he gives you a quote, he'll make some efforts toward Mizzou's NIL in honor of you. I think that's the wrong word, but and thanks for you getting a quote from him. And stick around, guys. It's going to be, again, another 48 hours of a lot could happen. We're not promising it all will happen. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And Floyd the barber says the bat signal just went up. So I'm going to have to look at this. Let's not log off quite yet. Maybe you guys can just sit here while I'm on Twitter and see what happens. Eli Drinkwitz has not tweeted in 10 hours, so I don't know who sent the bat signal. False alarm. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Where are you guys seeing this? Somebody's got to tell me who is tweeting a bat signal, because it is not Eli Drinkwitz. And everybody is lying. That feels like the absolute perfect way to end this day, guys. Bat signal, no bat signal. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.